Welcome everyone, all of our partners and a few clients here to the What's Coming at CTC Software, what's new with CTC Software. Brian and myself wanted to share with you a couple of things that are up and coming so you can all be aware of what's coming out here in 2022. So we want to kind of start a little bit with the agenda. We want to tell you a little bit about what it is we're going to talk about. So first off, for all of our partners, we have some upcoming sales stay in touch calls that we have scheduled on a regular basis. We're going to cover a bit about that. We're going to talk a bit about the Hive 2022 release that's upcoming here in just a couple of days. We're going to cover some new CIM apps for Civil 3D, some new BIM stuff for the Revit side, 2022 upgrades for all of our products, when you can expect a lot of those, and then we're going to open it up at the end for a bunch of Q&A, and we're going to run that Q&A through the GoToWebinar system. So if you have any questions that you want to queue up for this, you can certainly throw them into the window while we're going through the discussion today, and if we can, we'll answer them in line, and if we can't, we'll save them until the end and answer them all in one big bulk. So let's start out by talking a bit about the partners sales stay in touch meetings. We've been wanting to make sure that we're giving you as much information as we possibly can over time. Brian and I, having taken on a bit of a new role in sales direction, we wanted to make sure we sat down with you monthly and go through some rapid fire new information on a regular basis. We release tools throughout the year. We want you, our sales partners, to be ready for that. So we're going to be giving you those meetings. You'll see those pop up on your calendar here yet this week, most likely. We want to help you make sure you're staying up to date on CTC software with new tools, new techniques. So we're going to cover a lot of that. And additionally, we're also going to talk about recent wins that we've had with our tools, so you, the sales team, can leverage that while you're talking to potential new partners, or trying to advance an existing partner or existing clients, so you can really make sure that that you're able to sell as effectively as possible. Also, we want to make sure that we can help you develop new sales strategies based on all this information, right? It's easier to sell when you have all these tools at your disposal. And so we're going to definitely, work as a team, as partners, across all of our different partners and with us to help make sure that this is an easy process for all of you. And of course, in every one of those sessions, we want to make sure we leave time for questions and answers in case there's stuff that's come up over the past month. So we're going to have those. So little 30-minute meetings scheduled with all of you every month. The first Wednesday of the month actually is what we're targeting right now, and you'll see that show up on your calendars here pretty soon. And all those will most likely be recorded and shared to a private YouTube channel you'll have access to as well. Now, let's talk about the first major tool in our collection, Hive. Hive is our content management solution here at CTC, and Hive itself is undergoing a couple of updates. Very specifically, last year we released preview generation in Hive, and this year we're improving upon that preview generation, giving a few extra functions and features that our clients have asked for over the past year. We always try to listen to our clients, to listen to your feedback, and while we can't always respond immediately, we do try to make sure we build all that in. So preview generation got a fairly significant update this year. That'll be in that new 22 release, and of course 2022 Revit support is coming for Hive. And in addition to those updated features, we have some new features coming. Native AutoCAD block library support, helping to replace the tool palettes from AutoCAD. In fact, in a minute here, Brian is actually going to pull up his screen and show that to you. We also have added a new feature here for search result count. In the past, we would search, we would give the top relevant X number, whatever that was, but our clients wanted to know how many things were found, so they knew if they should refine that search right away or if they should continue to scroll and continue to load more. And to also answer that, we also have added what's called infinite scroll. You've already experienced this feature yourselves, I'm sure, all the time. When you're on Twitter, when you're on Facebook, when you're on a lot of different platforms, and you're Pinterest, when you're scrolling down, it just continues to give you more and more and more and more and more. Interesting technology. You don't have to manually click load more, and we're adding that into the Hive set as well. So when Hive, the new Hive well, the updated 22 Hive launches, that infinite scroll will be a part of it, the result cut will be a part of it, and those AutoCAD block libraries will also natively be there. And so what I want to do is turn it over to Mr. Levendowski and have him show you a bit about that new Hive AutoCAD core functionality so you can understand more about why that's even meaningful.
All right, thank you, Shawn. Yeah, this is a big addition for us, bringing in the AutoCAD platforms into Hive. And it starts with probably the biggest piece, the lowest hanging fruit, which are block libraries. Now, what I'm going to mention here briefly is something that applies to all of our clients. So this isn't necessarily something just new for AutoCAD users or AutoCAD Civil 3D users and not firms that are using Revit. The fact is that a lot of firms who might primarily use Revit for building design also have a lot of AutoCAD in-house. Or for those who don't use much Revit, who are in different industries or simply haven't adopted it yet, being able to leverage Hive for AutoCAD block libraries is a big step. And so I thought I'd just take a couple of minutes here. What I've got is just AutoCAD open here. And what I want to touch on is briefly, what's the best way right now to manage your block libraries in AutoCAD? Shawn mentioned it, it's tool palettes. And here they are right on the right side of my screen. And they're pretty intuitive. You can pick on buttons and things launch and insert right into your drawing, okay? And teams can set up all these different tabs and everything so they can organize them in different ways. And it becomes this very static kind of block library, if you will. And so this is where Hive comes in. Many of you are familiar with Hive already. Hive brings a cloud-hosted solution that allows you to search across libraries. You can control access to different libraries through different user permissions. You can create saved searches. You can get in analytics and understand who is using what content. That's actually a really big thing in the AutoCAD block world because your customers tend to get big bloated block libraries. Over the years, they get thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of blocks. And it becomes this really clumsily slow thing where users are browsing through dozens of tabs over here in AutoCAD just to find that one little thing. When in fact, all they know is they want, a block that has the name valve in it, and they can come to Hive and just run a search on that and bring that in. So all that Revit functionality, we have that built out for AutoCAD block libraries, and you just double click on it like you would normally, and you can bring that right into an AutoCAD drawing, okay? Now here's the other piece of it, right? It's easy to show how Hive can take block libraries and make them really easy to use. And by the way, we have a webcast coming up where we'll dive into this more deeply. But the other piece for your customers is they're going to say, we've been using tool palettes for 15 years, or we've been using this method for block libraries. I just don't want to take the time to move to Hive. We've solved that. We've made it really, really easy to take your block libraries and bring them right into Hive. And so this is a key selling point as well. It's not just the end user access that's important, but it's also the access and the tools that are available for CAD managers and BIM managers to be able to bring their teams into the more flexible Hive environment. So for example, we can load tons of drawings at once using that option. And here's some of the new features. We can search within drawings and pull hundreds of block definitions out of a single drawing. And in fact, we can even extract information from tool palettes. Now here's one of the key things. When people build out these tool palettes, they put all this small metadata about layers and things like that. All of that information will be read and transferred into Hive so that when it's loaded in their libraries and the user grabs that, the layer name and other kind of insertion information is available to them. Now that's all editable once in Hive, but the point is that we have a really quick, seamless transition from AutoCAD block libraries into Hive. So customers who are already using Hive, this makes it so they can get everything in one place for all the block libraries as well as their Revit content. What about all the firms who aren't using Revit? Okay, this is the first stage of bringing them into Hive. So Civil 3D is something we have planned for the future to bring in here. But right now, like I said, the biggest piece is the lowest hanging fruit is bringing block library support into Hive. And so this is something you could talk about with all your customers across the AEC spectrum.
Fantastic. And you may have seen at the top of Brian's little window there when he was sharing the Hive window that it actually informs the end user in Hive how many are found and how many are loaded. It's just to the right of its cursor, and on the far side, left side of the screen, it tells you how many were loaded. And so that is right there in front of people. And if it needed to load more as Brian would scroll down, it would effectively load as many as was needed. So it's a nice little feature there to allow our users to find exactly what they're looking for and how much, better understand how to use filters in the Hive side. Okay, so let's talk about when this is coming. This is planned to be released on May 4th. Right now, we seem to be pretty close to being on track to that. Should be May 4th, shouldn't be a problem. Why is it May 4th? Because we're all a bunch of nerds and, Star Wars Day. So there. So May 4th is the planned release for the Hive here. Now, there's an important topic here that I want all of our partners to understand. This is what about the old Hive, the legacy version of Hive from 2020, not 2021, but even before that, 2020. It was last year at about this time, we sat down and had a conversation about exactly the new Hive that was released, the one that's out now, and old Hive and the transition between the two. And we were only planning to run old Hive and the old servers for 3 months. Well, turns out our clients were a little slower to transition. They weren't communicated to all the time. And so it took us a full year now, and we're pretty close to being done with that. We give a full year of running the old servers and the new servers. But here's the deal. On June 4th, we're turning off the old Hive servers. June 4th. It's going to stop functioning for everybody. Now, we give a list to all of our partners, sales managers on Mondays, every Monday that gets sent out now, to let you know who is still on the old Hive. And we want to help you transition those users as soon as possible. So please get those lists from your sales managers, talk with them, strategize with your clients. We can get a call set up and get them transitioned as soon as possible because we don't want them angry and dropping Hive as a solution. But we need to get rid of those old servers. They're costing us a lot of financial input. They're also costing us a lot of headache on the development side. So help us out with that. Let's get them called. Let's get them transitioned. And we want to point out one more thing about Hive and the rest of our tools for that matter. And this is true on the CIM side and it's true on the BIM side both. CTC this is a great sales point when you're talking to your clients. CTC can be a great single source of the apps that they need. We are fully aware we've got competition in the market. We get it. It wouldn't be a real world market if that wasn't the case. But we are the only one out there who has all of the apps in some form available at their fingertips. We've got content management, so we compete with Unify and Avail on that front and a number of others. And we have BIM tools. So the other big competitors we have out there like Ideate and Imagine It, we compete with them, but we compete with both simultaneously because we have both at the same time. CIM side, we compete with companies like Graytech, right? Like we're going after these guys, but we have more than just basic tools on one side. We've got, it's a full picture thing. And it's important for the clients because if they have to load apps from multiple sources, there is a very high probability of interference with the applications. And we've actually had some support calls on this, and there's not much we can do about it because Autodesk is an unregulated app space. They don't really care if my app works well with somebody else's app. They just care that they're using the Autodesk platform of tools. And so it's kind of like the Google Play Store where it's kind of unregulated. But it's important with our tools because they all work together. They don't conflict with each other. And so our users get the best possible experience and they have a single source of purchasing. So it can be a great sales point as well as just beyond all the functionality that we offer. So we want to make sure that that's clear. Brian, did you have anything else to add there that I didn't touch on yet?
No, you made some good points.
All right, so we want to transition now into some of the suites that are coming up. And I want to completely transition this over to Brian, let him talk about some of the really powerful things that are coming in the civil information modeling suites. Take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Shawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had quite a year, in fact, across our CIM platform. A lot of new applications have come out, big, powerful tool sets. We've seen a lot of implementation and use, adoption of these across the industry, and we are continuing. We've got new apps coming out yet again, and I want to mention some of them here. One of the new ones is called Pipe Planner, and this is a tool that allows you to take pipe networks, a standard utility design tool set in Civil 3D, and export them to Excel spreadsheets, run analyses, make changes, and then import them back and update your model right on the fly. I'm going to give you a little taste of that one right in Civil 3D. We've got another new app, Corridor Mapper. This was, in fact, an overhaul of an old app that needed, in fact, so many new features we wanted to put in there that we decided to rewrite the entire thing. So it's a really amazing tool for people in transportation areas who are doing corridor modeling. I'll give you a quick sneak peek at that as well. AutoGrader, this was released about a year ago. We've got some new features coming out on that, some key stuff, especially for people doing residential design. Earthwork Processor, this was an app we released about 4 months ago, some key new features on that. Label Genie, another one of our flagship tools, some enhancements there as well. And then for the CAD managers and the CIM Manager suite, some key new features in Layer Boss. To note, there's now an option to completely rename entire layer sets in your drawing by syncing with Excel, so that you can, in a matter of just minutes, change the entire layer standard in a single drawing. Via doing some, fine replacing through Excel. So a really cool enhancement to Layer Boss there. Let me jump into Civil 3D and give you just a quick taste of some of these. I want to touch on Pipe Planner. And so this is the CIM Project Suite, the new one that will come out shortly, and you'll see Pipe Planner up here. I can launch Pipe Planner from here. I can choose a pipe network. This is my storm network. Okay, and I can grab any number of parts and put them into a spreadsheet in the middle here, or I can just grab all of those parts. Then I can grab any number of properties and build out my spreadsheet in the middle of the table here. Okay, now what I can do with this, I can build out custom reports any way I want. I can edit parameters right here and then hit apply and push those changes right to the drawing. Or I can take this entire spreadsheet, this custom form I built out, and save this out to an Excel file. And create new sheets. We'll write to some existing sheets. I can choose which tabs to write to, okay? And export that out to Excel, okay? Once that's exported, I can make changes in Excel, and I can bring it back in here, and I can run the import spreadsheet option. It allows me then to load a spreadsheet. It'll scan that, it'll find changes that may have been done. If I like those changes, I can import this and everything will update in my drawing, okay? So this is one of the most, or in fact, the most robust tool we've made for pipe networks. It addresses all sorts of manhole scheduling, pipe reporting, pipe depth reports and tables, as well as the ability for companies to take their designs, bring them to Excel, run analyses there, and then push that back as they make changes to their pipe sizes and so forth. So a really flexible tool set. I do want to make one note. Autodesk released a tool set called Project Planner, and one of the things you can do in there is export stuff from pipe networks into external files. What users are going to find with this is that this is way more robust in terms of the controls on what you can export. It's much more user-friendly, and of course you can sync any changes from Excel back to the drawing itself. So really not even a apples to apples comparison there. So this is coming out very soon, so very excited about that. The other one I want to touch on is Corridor Mapper. And by the way, those SIT calls for the sales team, Shawn mentioned, we're going to talk more sales strategy on this stuff. Right now, we've got everyone in the meeting, so we just wanted to kind of show you what we got, what's coming out. So it's good to get a sense, get an appreciation of what these tools are, and then we'll talk sales more on those SIT calls. So here I've got a corridor. This is great for people designing roadways and railways and airfields and so forth. And what Corridor Mapper does, the new Corridor Mapper is a really powerful tool where I can take all the different pieces of my corridor model. For example, I can grab all these sub-assemblies at once. I can assign a single layer, okay? Assign 4 different targets to one sub-assembly at once, okay? For those who aren't daily Civil 3D users, natively, I would normally be assigning 4 targets or 4 of these parameters to each one of these manually, okay? I'm able to select all of them at once and assign that, okay? I can do similar things down here with other sub-assemblies. Say I want to grab these here. One of the other enhancements we made is it's not just linking by layer, but I can link by style or by object name. So I can grab styles, objects with the style offsets, and it assigns all those layers. I can even grab one sub-assembly and say I want to manually pick this and tell it to match the right-of-way. Then I can grab all these other ones and tell it to match that initial sub-assembly. Let me do it in front of you here. And we can make all of these tie into, and you see these numbers populating here. Okay, we've got dozens and dozens of sub-assemblies getting assigned their targets at once. And what are targets for those who aren't daily users of Civil 3D? I'll show you in 1 second. This is how people model and design their roadways in Civil 3D. And when you think about driving down a road, nothing's constant, right? There's turn lanes, there's driveways, there's all those kinds of things. You have to assign all those components in your corridor. With this new Corridor Mapper tool, I can assign 366 of these components, basically these features in my model, to my model all at once. And to just give you a sense of the time savings that we're finding with this, again, what users would normally have to do here. Here's all these different lanes and curb pieces of my model. I'd have to come into each one of these individually and assign all of these different objects at once. I'm able to do hundreds in a matter of minutes versus just, it would normally take you hours to do that. So that is a big version 2 or a complete rebuild of our Corridor Mapper tool. Like I said, it was in Civil 3D before, but we saw a lot more opportunity with it. And so that is coming out in this next release. So very excited to get that in users' hands. So with that, Shawn, I'm going to turn it back to you, and you can talk about some of the new stuff coming out in our building desktop suites.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brian. So in the building suites, we have some fairly significant updates to 3 of the main building tools. Firstly, we're going to talk about the BIM project suite. And there's 3 tools inside of there that have been updated / added. The renumbering tool has been greatly improved. It has some new things that it can renumber and some new functionality to some of the existing renumber areas. Quick Select has been incredibly improved. I'm actually going to show you a little bit about the Quick Select tool here in just a moment. And also the new View Aligner tool, brand new tool, direct competitor to one of our other competitors' tools for view alignment. And ours actually is slated for some even better updates coming up soon. But for right now, it's already an incredibly powerful free tool. In fact, all 3 of those updates, major updates in the BIM project suite, are free tools. Those tools for us haven't had any love for a while. And so we wanted to go back and touch some of those free tools and continue to increase the value, which actually gives you the ability as, sales managers, sales professionals to go call the clients and be like, hey, get these tools, install them, and at least get them hooked on the free ones, if not also then selling some paid licenses. The BIM Manager Suite also has an update, a major update, specifically to the preview generator, and that's in partnership with the HIVE preview generation. The two tools go hand in hand. And again, the preview generator on the BIM Manager Suite is a free tool that HIVE actually uses in its preview generation. So little update there. The MEP Productivity Pack is undergoing a massive update right now. The new pack will include the 2020 upgraded content. So I know we're in the year 2022 with Autodesk releases, but we always keep the MEP Productivity Pack lagging behind by about 2 years. So this year it's being upgraded to 2020. There's a ton of improvements. All of the electrical and mechanical content has been touched and updated in some form. Symbology has been made consistent in functionality across both disciplines there. The user guide is getting some major updates. We got a lot of requests from clients about the user guide and can you update this? Can you fix this? Because it hasn't been given some love for a while. And it actually was given some love in this release, quite a bit actually. And so we're tying up those loose ends right now. And we'll talk in a little bit here about when that gets released. But what I'd like to do is show you just a little bit about those two BIM Project Suite tools that I mentioned a moment ago here. So I'm going to share my screen somehow. Brian, I can't actually share my screen. Do you know why that might be?
Because I don't want you to. No,
that's probably fine. Let me try to make me the presenter. Oh, there we go. Now I can share my screen because I wasn't the presenter. All right, let's see. All right, so I'm actually in Revit 2022 right now. I'm not going to demo from here directly, but I do have the tools, most of them up and running. Like I said, we're just about to release them. We're doing some final testing and refinement. Where I'm going to show this first tool off at is in Revit 2019, which is the oldest supported version this year in our release. We're going to be supporting 2019 through Revit 2022. You can let your clients know that. So we're dropping 2018 support this year, just like Autodesk does. We'll support the 4 latest versions of Revit. The first tool that I want to show off to you here is the one called View Aligner. This is that brand new free tool that you can get in your user's hands right away. So up here, I happen to have the roof plan setting on a sheet, and I can put this view wherever I feel is appropriate, whether it's aligned to my other views or not. And as an end user, if I want to get all these other floor plan views from the different levels of my building to be in the same place on my sheet, that's actually quite tedious to manually go through and try and figure out how to make these other views sit in the same place. People usually do guess their best. In this case, though, what I'm going to do is use the tool called View Aligner, and I can go through this in 2 basic steps. I'm going to do the horizontal top edge alignment, and then the sort of, I should say, the vertical top edge alignment, the horizontal top edge, and then I'm going to align it left-right to the right edge. And so I'm going to go through and just kind of start this process here, and I can get all of these views across these sheets to very quickly align, and then do the right edge of this in exactly the same way. Simply click through the views, and now all of my plans are laid out in the same way. I can do this across multiple sheets. That's pretty custom to this tool set. Most other tools can't do that. And I can also do it, of course, on the same sheet for views that exist there. This also will align 2 views, schedules, and text elements. You can use your users can leverage these on sheets to quickly get their sheets set up consistently, either across sheets or get views like on detail sheets where there's 30+ views laid out all nice and neat on that one sheet. Fantastic little free tool set. This also has the ability right now to align by levels when views are the same scale. And there's some updates coming there to let you do by level and by grid intersections. That'll be coming out later, but for now, as a free tool, I mean, this is really powerful and will make this so much faster. The other major feature that was updated here, I'm going to go to a floor plan. We'll go and use this one here. I'm going to very quickly demonstrate, let's see here, TW, I think is the command, yep. And I'm going to demonstrate to you the new functionality of Quick Select. I'm going to do it very quickly, just because, you know, for the sake of time, we want to get back to the discussion here. But we've just updated this so I can very quickly refine my filtration in Revit. Normally in Revit, when I want to filter something down, I can get to the category, and that's the extent of my filtration, 275 items. That's the best I can possibly do in Revit natively, unless I get really good at schedules and really good at making custom schedules and hopefully cleaning up after myself. What I'm going to do is I want to select all of the walls in this floor plan that are 1 hour fire rated or have a fire rating, but are not properly attached to the level above. So in Quick Select, there's a new portion of the user interface that actually allows me the ability to stack multiple rule sets, multiple selections together, an infinite number of selection criteria here. And what I'm going to do is basically reload my unconnected fire rated selection that is actually going to filter down an existing selection. So 798 items. This is going to rip through that, and based on my rule sets, it's going to find all the walls. It's going to remove anything that's not fire rated walls, and then it's going to remove even further things that are not connected to the level above, and it leaves me with 22 items left in my selection, so I can very rapidly get exactly what I was hoping for. You can make this 100% repeatable. I can, of course, also build those up on the fly, but I can save them and recall them on demand very quickly. So super powerful selection tools available there at your fingertips. Brian, I'm going to transition back to you here. So I'm going to stop sharing and let you take back presenter so that you can jump back into that PowerPoint for us and we can move on.
All right, give me a moment.
So what's coming up next is we're going to talk about when you can get these updates, these upgrades to the 2022 tools. I've talked a little bit about this with Hive, where Hive specifically is coming May 4th. That's our target date for that. But basically, all of our tools, and I mentioned this already as well, will have support for Revit 2019, and for that matter, AutoCAD 2019, AutoCAD Civil 3D 2019, all the way through 22. So the 22 releases coming up here with all these new releases. All of these tools do have available online user guides. However, the tools right now in this first release don't necessarily link directly to all those online user guides, but they are there, and we are transitioning to online user guides for ease of distribution and ease of your team finding things. And that'll be important because in Hive, you can actually link things directly to our user guides from Hive stuff. That's actually something that you'll be seeing come out really soon here. Every single one of the BIM dedicated products that are installed suites will be releasing on May 4th. That's our target date for that, the upgrade for 2022 on May 4th. I mentioned that for Hive and also for all of our installed suites. So BIM Project Manager Batch, SuperDoor Casework, all those coming out on the 22nd. The CIM products, they're going to release about 2 weeks later, a little bit later in May, just because we're tying up some loose ends with what's going on with the AutoCAD side of those 2022 upgrades. But that's going to come out a little bit later in May. We don't have an exact date yet, just due to some complications on the dev front, but that'll be out still in May. And then the MEP Productivity Pack, the MEP PP, is set to be launched on June 4th. So you'll see that 1 month after the launch of the BIM products. The MEP Productivity Pack is coming then as the content pack. So that'll be out pretty quick. So what you can do as your next step is make sure you start contacting and getting all these prospective and existing clients notified about these new releases. I know there's been many who have begun to ask you, when am I going to get the 2022 stuff? We've got a lot of emails about that so far. On the BIM side, May 4th. On the CIM side, about 2 weeks later, and for the MEP Productivity Pack, June 4th. Let them know. And also, feel free to start getting some demonstrations set up for early June on, or mid to late May, to start getting people excited about some of these new tools. Get some new contact, let people know, again, these tools are coming out. A lot of the other add-in developers out there aren't even ready to start releasing on 2022 yet. So, this is a great way for you to start jumping in and saying, if you're on 2022 and you want tools, CTC's on the ball. We're 3 weeks usually after the official release. All right. And then we want to also look forward a bit and talk about some of the other exciting stuff that's coming. Brian, you want to talk a bit about the Hive for Civil 3D? Sure.
We are in the midst of beginning development on Civil 3D support in Hive. It's our first phase was this base AutoCAD support for block libraries, but Civil 3D has all sorts of other content. It's very content rich to make Civil 3D, work for teams. And I can tell you, I worked as a consultant, as some of you have, for many years, managing this content for teams, setting it up, and we figured it out pretty well. But it was still a huge pain in the rear, managing it, deploying it, and then getting users to use that content. It's significantly harder in Civil 3D actually to get users to standardize on some sets of content, to give them quick access to content. So the win for getting really robust content management in Hive is going to be substantial. So that is a big piece we are working on throughout this year.
Additionally, we're stepping into a new form of licensing on purpose, by design and by request. We are moving toward cloud-based network licensing. So Autodesk actually made a move similar to this in recent past, where they're going to explicit named user licensing. Now, we're not going to that extreme, so those of our clients who are on the phone today, don't panic. We're not making you do named users for all of our tools. Not explicit licensing by named user and hike in prices and things like that. We are still doing a pool of licenses. You could still say, for example, get one network license and share it amongst 20 people. Not a problem. All we're doing is moving the engine from a local server in your office up to a cloud-based licensing system. And that's going to make it far easier to deploy these network licenses. It's also going to make it far easier if you're trying to trial out a tool, try it, and maybe need a little bit more time. In the past, you had to install network licensing, or we couldn't even do trials on certain suites of things. So we're going to make that whole process a whole lot easier to work on by using that cloud-based licensing. We also have a couple of portals that are up and coming, both a partner portal to allow you, the partners, to more easily help your clients manage their licenses. It's going to be an easy login system, access to all of our sales resources. There's also a client portal that's coming, that's where you, the client, can see your licenses and administer them through that portal. So that whole cloud-based network licensing thing, you'll have a portal to be able to visualize, see that, access it, administer it yourselves to a degree, and then also, again, the partners. Our partners can help add to your license pool very easily and quickly. Up and coming, and you heard Brian mention this a little bit before, we have some webcasts that are coming, talking about our tools. We're going to try and do some pre-release and post-release webcasts on some of the things, but all these new tools that we have coming out, there's webcasts that are scheduled. Check out our events page for that if you want to get signed up for some of those. Most namely, again, Hive for AutoCAD. There's a webinar coming up real soon here to let you see what's going on with the Hive for AutoCAD, but then also all of our tools have webinars up and coming. So definitely check out that events page. And also, as always, CTC, we're trying to be an open book to all of you, both partners and clients alike. So feel free to contact us at your leisure. Get a hold of us, ask us questions, let us know if you've got issues, let us know if your clients have issues, or if you are the client and you're not getting answers directly as fast as you'd like, get a hold of us. We want to make sure that you're able to use our tools successfully and that we're relieving any frustrations that you might have. These tools are supposed to make you more productive. So let us know how we can help you out. And they're also supposed to make, on the sales front, easier for you to sell things. Let us know how we can help you out. Okay, so we're kind of jumping into the last segment here of today's discussion, which is the questions and answers section. And there's one question that I saw pop up that I want to take and answer right away. This relates to our network licensing and what versions of Autodesk we are supporting. So there was a question that said Autodesk is currently supporting 5 back. So why are we removing 2017 and 2018 support when there are still many clients who are potentially using those versions? So we had a number of discussions with our partners, most notably Kyle Davis, one of our support contacts at ATG. we had a conversation with him because he asked us last year about potentially doing some 5 version support, and we tried it out for 2017 and 18 all the way through 21. And as the year progressed on, we had that conversation again. And what we understood, and we looked at Autodesk's website to kind of investigate this a bit to get their official stance, Autodesk does seem to officially on their website support 5 versions back for 3 months after the next version release. But then that oldest version drops off and they officially only support 4 versions for the rest of the year from a support point of view to help people transition. Now, can you get old used licenses? Yeah, you can. Are they going to fully support that with technical support resources? Not really. They're going to tell you that you have to upgrade some stuff and whatever because they usually fix things in future versions. For us on our dev side, we decided this year not to do the 5 versions back because the 2017 and 2018 APIs are actually really cumbersome to work with and had some very significant limitations specifically with Hive and specifically on the Revit front. Those older APIs are trash in Autodesk's environment, and they're not going to be changing them at all. The 2019 and above APIs, the latest 4 versions, which in 3 months, Autodesk will only be supporting those versions anyway, are far better and let us do more things with Hive and our other tools, and they let us do have far more stable code, not supporting some of those old legacy API calls. So it makes our ability to support and turn things around faster. It gives us the ability to support the versions of software that Autodesk is supporting officially. And if the clients do need the older editions of our tools to be able to install them on their computers for 2017 and 2018, we can work that out. Just like Autodesk, we have an old use license ability. So we can still let them use the old tools, but those old tools aren't getting any more updates because they're too old to update, just like Autodesk isn't changing the old stuff anymore. So they also won't be supported on the new network licensing engine. They'll be only supported on their legacy network licensing or standalone licensing that they used to have. All of our new stuff will be on that cloud-based licensing when it comes out here in a couple of months. Brian, I think I saw a question come through on the civil side. Did you want to jump in and handle that one?
Yeah, a question about Hive for Civil 3D, about it supporting custom coordinate system files. This is one of the many kind of oddball file types or content types in Civil 3D. And that one in particular, I happen to know, is a real bear to support. All of those files are going to be supported. There is a whole host of content types. We're basically divided into 2 types. One is on-demand content. This is something users go and fish and they bring it into their projects, like blocks or like a template, things like that. And then there's let's call it background content. These are these coordinate system files, as well as about 20 other different file types. That stuff is going to be supported through Hive, through kind of a phase release approach to it. But yeah, good question. So just about everything you can think of in terms of the Civil 3D content that goes into a full Civil 3D setup will be supported in Hive. And so what we're after with the phased approach is to give people a way to start dipping their toes into Hive from the AutoCAD and the Civil 3D world without having to make a complete leap from what they're used to doing, because it is a big step for people. And so we're going to release a couple sets of features that allow them to partially implement. It's going to make it quite a bit easier, in fact, for companies to implement and for you guys as partners to talk with your customers about it. So it's yeah, that's the plan there. Shawn, I think there's one question about the View Aligner tool.
Yeah, so I saw that one there as well. The question was, what about aligning views with different scales by level? I was very specific and very intentional about saying the View Aligner in this first release for the levels functionality specifically will align levels across views of the same scale. So that's great for things like elevations sheets, general sections sheets, where many of those are the same scale. You can align levels in those views, but it does not in the first release align across differently scaled views for the levels specifically. The edges of the views works perfectly across multiple scaled views, doesn't even matter. But when it's the levels specifically, an element that's within the view, that first release will be views of the same scale. Now, our second update to BIM Project Suite on our roadmap is currently slated to include the allowing alignment of levels from views of different scales and aligning grid lines from floor plan views or sections and elevation views, and again, of different scales. That's coming in our .2 release. That's what it's planned for. So it was actually quite a complicated solution. Nobody else does that we've seen yet. No one's even trying to reach into views for this. We're the first one that I've seen that does levels, and we're also going to be the first one then to align levels of different scales. So for a free tool, it's actually quite a bit of effort, but we want to apply the value. And that's primarily because that's going to tie in directly to one of our future tools coming out later this year that's going to allow sheet template work, where I can get views laid out across multiple sheets without manually hitting the align button, just have it automatically inflicted across those sheets. And we need to have the scales and the levels for that to work properly. So that is definitely a feature that's coming later this year. There was a couple of other questions that were in the list that had already been answered. Brian, did you want to expand upon anything about the AutoCAD blocks with properties? Just kind of give that information out in general across the whole team.
Yeah, you're talking about the one, how is it different from inserting from a tool palette?
That one, and there was also one about the ability to apply layers and other CAD standards that came from tool palettes, yes.
Yeah. So I had shown in Hive how you can take an existing set of tool palettes, import them into Hive for an easy switch over, and all those tool palette properties or those insertion properties will come with it. What that will do is write to the settings within Hive, control all that, okay? That's an automated process, but those settings can be edited in any way you want. So for example, say your block libraries weren't on tool palettes. You never even got that far with them in AutoCAD. And you just had folders of hundreds of different DWGs with a single block definition in each. Or perhaps you had 30 different DWGs with 100 block definitions within each one, okay? It'll read all those files, bring that stuff in. It'll take any default information that might have been applied to those block definitions already, but from that point, you'll be able to edit all those properties. So for example, if I grab a container drawing with 100 block definitions, I can bring it into Hive as a CAD manager. Before I commit it to the library, I can tell these 25 to land on that layer and to, prompt for rotation when it comes in, and then the remaining 75 land on a different layer because they're utility blocks or something. And I'll have that detailed control, and I can edit individually or en masse, editing hundreds of block insertion properties at once. So in summation, what we've done, we've taken everything that's good about tool palettes and brought that into Hive and put on top of it all the additional properties or functionality that Hive brings you, right? So what's troublesome about tool palettes? You can't search them, right? It's just a very static set of all these buckets where your blocks are stored. And that doesn't work when you start talking thousands of pieces of content. Users need to be able to search it. They need to query things in different ways. Or guess what? People don't use the content. And then you get all these kind of rogue groups that are doing their own thing, and and that really hurts productivity. So I hope that answers some of it of why we're bringing that block support in there. In fact, we've Shawn and I have been showcasing the AutoCAD block support to a couple longtime customers, and at first they were kind of like, well, but we got all these tool palettes and they work great. And we said, well, but what if you could do this? What if you could search those tool palettes? What if you could do control it through user permissions? What if you could understand what content's being used and what's not being used? And what we found is they didn't even know that they were missing something. right? They didn't know it could be better. And so they were really kind of exciting conversations for us to have, because we realized people don't even know that it can be better than tool palettes. And so that's kind of the pitch here with our customers, is to talk to them like, no, there actually is something quite a bit better at tool palettes. And you can do it in Hive, the same place where you're managing all your Revit content.
All right. We had one other major question come in that was regarding BIM 360 and BIM 360 support. So we did recently have a newsletter that said that BIM 360 support was coming soon, specifically for plotter and exporter. We didn't mention it yet in this particular presentation, but yes, indeed, that is coming soon. We expect that not to be in the 2022 release, though if we can, we absolutely will. Suspicion has it, just because of the BIM 360 API and some of our final testing and refinement, that it'll probably be in the .1 release for that feature for plotter and exporter, and then for that matter, also in the BIM data suite when that's and in that .1 release, that it'll also then have the BIM 360 support. Once we get that rolled out, stable, tested, everybody likes how it's functioning and working, you're going to see those features of BIM 360 rapidly appear in a number of our other tools in the releases this year. So BIM 360 support is coming soon. It's coming soon this year, in the next like 2 months at most, for things like plotter and exporter and some of the BIM data suite scheduling things, and then also just general browsing and automation stuff. So it is coming. Taking us a little longer than we had hoped, but we want to make sure we get it done right so that users have a good experience with it. But it's going to be coming soon. I'm not seeing any additional questions roll in just yet. Brian, did you see anything that I missed that you wanted to touch on?
Nothing yet. Those of you who are hanging around, if you have any, feel free to type them in the GoToWebinar system. That's how we're answering these here. So type them into the system. Otherwise, you can always contact us after the fact. So
absolutely, absolutely. And for those of you who are likely about to jet here pretty quick, thank you. Thank you for the time you've given us today. We always appreciate when we have a chance to touch base with our partners and our clients as well. You know, we want to make sure that we're trying to be as open a book as possible. So if you have any questions outside of this, like Brian said, contact us. We'll have a discussion about it, get some questions and some answers handled. And we do look forward to getting these tools out the door and into your hands so you can start selling them. And yes, BIM 360 support will be coming for Import Link Manager. We actually have, I think it's 12 tools officially that are looking for some BIM 360 support. Plotter Exporter is first on the list, right alongside the Snapshot Exporter. The Import Link Manager absolutely needs that particular tool. Spreadsheet Link, Schedule Excel needs it. Let me think here, what else was there? Family Loader needs it, and there's a couple of others in the mix that I can't remember right now off the top of my head that all need some level of BIM 360 support. So yes, those are all on the list for new improvements there. There was a question that I did see roll in here about can Hive be used as the central location for Revit to read shared parameter text files from for the entire company? The answer right now is currently no. However, we are working toward that. We have roadmap plans to make Hive truly be the central content management, integrating tools like Family Checker and Family Processor, Schedule Parameter Resolver, Type Swapper. All of those tools we intend to integrate on the BIM side directly into Hive, and a number of other new exciting tools coming on the line as well. And so, yes, in the future, Hive will be the central location for the shared parameter file, but for right now, it doesn't get read out of Hive directly yet. Imagine it has a tool called Style Manager, anything to compete with that. I believe Type Swapper is the tool that competes directly with that, as well as Project Processor both. Something we can certainly talk about offline specifically about that question, but I believe those two tools and also Spreadsheet Link can do a lot of that work as well, depending on what that work happens to be. I thought I saw a question. Oh, I guess maybe you answered that in text. Yes, this is being recorded. This entire presentation was recorded, and we're going to get that put up on our private YouTube channel and share with our partners in the near future here. Is there any plans to remove BIM list from the project suite? Fantastic question, and one that I'm excited to give an answer on. Yes, actually. Next year, BIM list will no longer exist. So in the 2023 release, BIM list is gone. In this year's release, by default, BIM list, admin and browser, and project link, all three of them are by default hidden upon installation of the project suite. Now, BIM managers can turn it back on if their team is using it, but it's going to disappear from the ribbon this year. You've already saw last year, it disappeared almost entirely from our marketing materials. This year, it's not even going to be on the website. It's gone. We're not selling any new licenses of it. Anybody who asks for it, we want a conversation and we try to sell them Hive instead because it's the tool that replaces it. But yes, absolutely. BIM list is going away, thank goodness, disappearing this year and actually not even in the suite next year.
Shawn, the question that had come in was about Civil 3D support in Hive, what versions? We are planning to follow the same we are doing with our desktop suites, which is 4 latest versions. Shawn can elaborate on that a bit easier. And Shawn, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the same for Revit support across
Yep.
And Hive as well, right?
Hive and all of our suites. Yep.
Yeah, so with this 22 release, everything from CTC will be supported from 19 through 2022. Again, as Shawn mentioned, we can make exceptions and give them old builds, but we're not updating those builds with new features, support for changes that Autodesk may have made. They'll simply be those old builds.
All right, I think we're good.
Yeah, thanks so much for attending, everyone. We will get information out, excuse me, the link to the recording out shortly here. We'll get it posted on YouTube and you can view that. And please do share it with your coworkers who weren't able to attend. I know people have a lot of meetings and so forth, so forward that around to your teams so everyone gets a peek at it, and look for information from us as things get released over these coming few weeks. We're real excited for this May. We've got months and months of work going into this upcoming release, so we're excited to get that into your hands as well as customers' hands. So with that, we will sign off and wish you all a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you all.